This is Joshua Hart for Seconds Out, joined today by Nick Campbell here over Zoom. Nick, really appreciate your time today, and how is everything, my friend?
Yeah, good, thanks, man. Good. Just had a busy morning. Sorry I got held up. People that don't know, I held Josh up by about half an hour, so I apologise for that. But we're here now. All good.
It's all good, mate. No worries on the hold up. I've got a fairly free. Always going to make a bit of time for a good Zoom with you today. A lot to go into, like I've just said. I think the good place to start. The IBF have ordered Crocker versus Donovan 2. They have to rematch after all the controversy just over a month ago. I remember speaking to you a couple of days after it all happened, and you've got the outcome that you wanted. Do you feel the IBF have made the right choice here?
Yeah, listen, I mean, when I say the outcome that I wanted didn't really matter, it was just the right outcome for what happened. And I think the IBF have got it spot on. I think there's a lot of, back and forth with Billy saying that Eddie was in backstage telling Andy Lee and Keith Sullivan and nonsense. Do you know what I mean? The IBF have made an impartial decision. Nobody's involved but those officials, and I think they've came to the right conclusion. The right one for boxing fans as well, because I think a lot of fans want to see the rematch, want to see if you know Crocker can obviously change what happened in the first fight, and a lot of other fans want to see Paddy Donovan get the potentially justice which he deserved from the first fight.
Absolutely. Looking at the rematch now, obviously, it's a much bigger fight, and it was already very big the first time round. We were both there in the arena that night, and it was one of the best atmospheres I've ever witnessed at a fight. How much bigger is this rematch now? It's got to go. It's got to go outdoors now, isn't it? A big summer fight, doesn't it?
Oh, it's massive. Like it's massive. What was it? Eddie Hearn said it's got quite. What was the rematch that he said it's got written all over it? Anyway, I can't remember. But aye, it's huge. It's huge. The rematch is always bigger than the initial fight, and I think in this case it'll live up to the expectation. Everybody was expecting a cracking first fight. We got that. Loads of controversy. Excellent performance from Paddy Donovan. An incredible crowd in the arena. And I think it can only go up another level with the rematch. Where it's going to be is another question. I know that there was people talking about the stadium in Belfast, the name I forget, but um, I think it has to potentially be a 15, 20,000 seat arena at least.
But Crocker, there was a big debate afterwards. Obviously, this debate's kind of relevant now, but I just want to get your take on it. There was questions going around the industry of, do you feel there was more money for Crocker in an IBF mandatory title shot or a rematch with Paddy Donovan that's bound to probably sell out any arena in Ireland and Northern Ireland?
Yeah, probably. Like, listen, as the challenger, maybe his money wasn't going to be as good. But the thing is, as well, I think what happens with boots is going to determine whether this is a mandatory or this could be for the vacant IBF title. So that makes it even bigger again. But yeah, Lewis came out and I don't know, I know a lot of people follow Instagram and stuff like that. I thought the post that he put up on Instagram was actually, you know, very level-headed of him, and he just kind of said, I want the rematch. I want to prove my doubters wrong. I want to go in and right the wrongs from the first fight and put in a better performance. So all credit to Lewis. He's got the right attitude going into this. I know that Paddy will be very motivated to go out and give the same performance he did in the first fight. So I think it's huge, and like you say, it's probably the biggest fight out there for both men at this time, with especially the controversy that happened in the first fight.
Just lastly on this one, obviously, you mentioned earlier on about Billy Nelson saying that Eddie Hearn's being a bit biased towards Paddy Donovan. I know you were there on the night as part of Team Donovan, and from what you know, there wasn't any signs of bias or anything like that.
Nah, listen, the only thing I took from it is Eddie Hearn is a businessman. Eddie Hearn knows how big the rematch is, and that's what he's thinking about. He's not interested in helping Paddy or helping Lewis. He's interested in helping the business. And if it makes good business sense to have the rematch, that's what he's going to want. That's all I took from it. And he's looked at it and went, you know what? It's a bit controversial. Was the punch after the bell? Yes. Was it? Yes. So I think the rematch makes sense. It wasn't a case of being biased towards anybody. It's makes good business sense to have that rematch because it makes a lot of money wherever it is.
Absolutely. Looking at some of the big talking points from over the weekend, we saw Joe Joyce return to the ring, looking to bounce back off the Derek Chisora defeat last year in July. He didn't get the bounce back, but a lot of people saying it was one of his best performances since the Joseph Parker fight back in September 2022. What were your thoughts on Joe Joyce at the weekend from what you saw?
Listen, the guy's got the heart, incredible heart, incredible will, um, incredibly tough man. I don't think he's really got anything else to prove in terms of his toughness or his willingness to fight. You've seen that against Hergovic. Hergovic was landing some big shots on him early on. I was getting a little bit worried in the first couple of rounds when Hergovic was landing a lot of right hands. And I was thinking he's going to crack here. I don't know what, because there's these question marks over his chin now. But listen, the guy's got incredible heart. And he went out there and it was a great fight, entertaining to watch, fan friendly. And then they both traded a lot of leather, landed a lot of shots. Potentially not the best defense from either man, but it was definitely entertaining. So I think it was a good spirited, hard performance from Joe Joyce. But I think really now it's time to hang the gloves up for his sake, rather than anybody else.
It's an interesting point you make. Like, that's what I was going to come on to next. We've seen for a while now when we spoke about Joe Joyce, the word retirement tends to come not too far after it. From what you saw, see, we've seen interviews from Joyce himself immediately after the fight, and he's saying that he has no desire to retire. So if he is to continue, who would you like to see him face? And more importantly, what level does he go back in at?
Personally, I don't want to see him face anybody. Like I said, I'd love him to maybe. Like, listen, he's made a lot of money. He's an Olympic silver medalist. Had some big nights. Topped a lot of bills. Sold a lot of tickets. He's definitely reached his peak. I think he's only on the decline now. He's not going to get any better. And I think his career is taking its toll. But the fighter in him, of course, he's always going to want to continue to fight on. It's like any fighter, no fighter ever wants to retire, but it's about realizing when the time is right, sort of thing. And I just kind of feel like, where does he go from here? He's probably at best going to be a gatekeeper type for up and coming fighters, like for example, a Moses Atuma. Maybe chuck him at Joe Joyce now. Joe Joyce is a bit of a spent force, and it's an opportunity for him to look good. That's the only way I can see him going. Was he going to go back down at British level? He's not at world level. It's very difficult. I think he's hopefully the people that he listens to and around him can guide him in the right way and do the best thing for Joe, because I'm pretty sure he's financially in a good place. He's a pretty intelligent guy, and I think he's got a great future ahead of him away from boxing. So fingers crossed they can make the right decision.
Absolutely. Looking at a big moment on the undercard, we saw David Adley versus Jamie TKV for the British heavyweight title, and a fight which a lot of people had Jamie TKV up winning the fight. Speaking to his coach yesterday, said he was in control. And a big moment of controversy came in that sixth round where the ref shouted break twice. Adley then landed a left hook on the break, and a count was ordered. Before we go into obviously the rematch being ordered, what was your initial reaction to the controversial stoppage?
Yeah, at the time, I think I was the same as everybody else. I'm like, oh, geez, that was like, it was hard to protect yourself at all times. But at the same time, the ref told you to break twice and you've landed a massive left hook. But actually, after the fight, Adley posted a clip, and it was all the time the referee called break. And on three or four occasions, TKB's been the last one to land a punch on the break. So he's trying to land a big overhand right, body shot, right hand over the top. And then this time, it was Adelaide who landed the shot on the break. So for me, it was 50-50 in terms of both men were being dirty, both men were trying to punch on the break, both men were trying to rough each other up. It's heavyweight boxing. It's a fight at the end of the day. That's the chance you take. And I think if you look at when he caught the left hook, the ref's calling him to break. TKV still landing body shots, then he lands a left hook. But yeah, listen, I think the board have now ordered the immediate rematch, and I think the purse bids have got to take place, and it's got to come to an agreement by whenever. So that's definitely going to be a rematch, and I think, and again, similar to Paddy and Lewis, it's a great rematch. There's a bit of controversy, you know. So it was an entertaining fight. You know, a lot of two big men trading leather, trying to knock each other out. TKB will have a point to prove. So yeah, I think I didn't really have an issue with it after I watched Adelaide's clip, just breaking down all the occasions that TKB punched on the break. But I also don't have an issue with the rematch being called. I think it's good for boxing. It's an entertaining fight and a good challenge for both men. So the actual decision, fair enough. The rematch being called, fair enough. I'm happy with both.
How do you see a rematch going between the two?
Listen, I think I've sparred. I've never sparred Jamie, but I've sparred David, and you've seen how devastating his left hook was. He's got a big, big, big left hook, big, powerful man. So, like we say in heavyweight boxing, you could be winning every second, every round, and all it takes is that one shot. So, no doubt about it, he's got a good coaching team, Adelaide, and I always forget his name, Smith, Adam Smith, and
Adam Booth.
um, Adam Booth. I always say Adam Smith. I'm useless for that. Adam Booth. They'll definitely be going away and looking at where he can improve, you know, the adjustments that he can make. TKB's a great fighter. He's got a good team around him as well. So they'll be going away and trying to make the adjustments that they can possibly make as well, make it more in their favour. So I think it's a great, great rematch, great fight. And again, it could be that one punch that decides it all.
And a lot of talk obviously about the rematch and a certain card it could land on. This is just me speculating here, trying to see if it could happen. But we saw the announcement on Saturday morning of Fabio Wardley versus Jerome Miller, a brilliant fight at the top of the heavyweight division. I was there on Monday for the press conference, and you can see there's a bit of tension between the two. I think it's fair to say. First of all, are you a fan of the fight?
Yeah, listen, I think Wardley's done amazing. Do you know what I mean? If you're not a fan of Wardley, you're not really a fan of boxing. He's come from a white collar background with very limited amateur experience. Got sparring with Dylan White. He's seen a bit of potential in him. He's been pushed up every time he's been asked. He's answered, and this is definitely the toughest challenge for him yet. So it's a great fight. Jarrell Miller's a real polarising character. You either kind of love him or hate him. Uh, Tries to be controversial, tries to rub people up the wrong way, and then you can see that in the press conference. And listen, I think that all adds to it, doesn't it? It's going to sell more tickets. It's going to get more people interested, and that's part of boxing. You know, we want these fighters to build the fights and keep it interesting, have that little bit of spite and that little bit of edge to the fight. So that's a great great matchup, great step up for Fabio Wardley. And yeah, we'll definitely, if he gets past Jarrell Miller, there's no doubt about it. He's pushing toward world level. So that'll be really interesting to see how it goes. And listen, he's a massive puncher. You've seen that the way he stopped Fraser Clark. So I think it's an entertaining and interesting fight.
Obviously, looking at the matchup, it is for the WBA interim heavyweight world title, so it kind of guarantees the winner a world title shot. And this is the thing I find so interesting with Fabio's career is there's not really that middle ground from fighting Fraser Clark to Jarrell Miller. No disrespect to Fraser Clark by any means, but it is a very big gap there. Do you feel they maybe could have went down a different road and tried to give him that matchup in between, or do you feel it's the right move to go straight for Jarrell?
Yeah, of course. Of course, there's always a different route that you can take. There's always an easier route. But listen, Fabio obviously backs himself, and then the team that he's got around him as well that work with him obviously see potential in him. They see him inspiring, they see him in training every day. And listen, I mean, Fraser Clark was an Olympic bronze medalist, you know, future British heavyweight star. So I agree with you. There's, you know, maybe a difference in levels between him and Miller based on their experience in the pro ranks, but I think it's a very winnable fight for Fabio Wardley if he gets the game plan right. But a very tough fight. Jarrell Miller's a massive man. He's going to put a lot of pressure on him. You've seen what he nearly done to Daniel Dubois. Just his gas tank caught him out at the end, and Dubois had a massive puncher that caught up with him. But very challenging fight. Very, very much a 50-50 for me. Maybe even slightly in favour of Miller, given his experience. So That's going to be a hell of an interesting fight to see how it plays out. And like I said, we'll definitely know where Fabio Wardley's at the end of the final bell.
One of the big talking points around the fight has been Jerome Miller's past with failed drug tests and whatnot. I know Spencer Oliver and Adam Catterall were very strong on their opinion on Talksport in saying he has failed tests multiple times before. He shouldn't be given opportunities at this top level anymore. Do you agree with that opinion, or he's done the crime and served the time, so he should be allowed?
Uh, nah, be somewhere in the middle with that. I agree with what the guys are saying. If you're a drugs cheat, then you shouldn't really be getting given opportunity after opportunity. And at the end of the day, it's a hurt game. You can seriously hurt people in this sport. And if you've got an unfair advantage over somebody using performance enhancing drugs, then it should really be a lifetime ban. However, how many other times have we heard or seen this? We've had numerous fighters who've failed drugs tests and they're still back fighting at the top level. So if it's one of them, if you're going to do it to one, you've got to do it to them all. And that includes Conor Ben. The list goes on. Canelo's had allegations. So yeah, the, it's prevalent in the sport, unfortunately. We just need to try and catch the guys who are doing it, give them the appropriate bans, I feel, and move on to the sport. That is what it is. There's no precedent for it, so there's no reason why it should be banned for life.
A very, very good answer there. I really do like the way you've gone about that one. Just sticking in the heavyweight division, uh, just another two fights that we saw at the weekend. We saw the return of Jalalov, which I wasn't able to catch, but I know you said you watched it, and then also Richard Torres Jr. versus Guido Vianello. Again, a fight I wasn't able to catch, but I've seen the highlights. We saw what a lot of people are saying career best performance from Richard Torres Jr. and what was a decent step up for him.
Yeah, I thought, listen, Guido Vianello is on a great run of form. He's a good fighter, and I thought it was an excellent performance from Richard Torres, an excellent performance. Really boxed a game plan, executed it very well, stuck to the game plan when he was under pressure, and showed a lot of maturity in the ring there to do that. Uh, Jabalov, I thought it was a bit of an underwhelming performance from him. His opponent, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try to, but the Ukrainian Hulk, who was stopped by Martin Bacoli in 3 or 4 rounds, I'm sure it was, by left hook over in Poland. And he went to 10 rounds, but decision he dropped him in the third, never really capitalised on that. It was a fairly comfortable performance from him, but from the two-time Olympic champion, the, you know, Uzbek monster, I was kind of expecting to see the stoppage and a little bit disappointed than ever. But that's an interesting fight. Those two guys fought in the final of the Olympics, I'm sure. Jabalov and Torres.
Yes, and then Jalalov knocked him out quite badly for the.
Cold badly in the World
Mm.
Championships, correct? So this could be a kind of full circle story now. We're going to see them in the pro ranks. The last fight in the Olympic final, Jabalov won quite convincingly, but Torres gave a very good account of himself. I'd say he's progressed a lot since then. Don't know if Javalov's progressed greatly in the last couple of years. He's kind of been in and out of the ring, mixed. Obviously won the Olympic gold medal, but in the pro ranks, I don't know. So it'd be a really interesting fight. Maybe a little bit early for them both to be making that fight just yet, but definitely one down the line that I'd love to see. And I think Torres he's definitely pushed himself right up there. He's not far away from world, being in the top 10, 20, maybe top 20 now. So he's got a big future ahead of him.
For Torres, there's always been a lot of talk about how, I guess you could say, smaller the heavyweight he is, especially compared to some of the absolute giants that you see in this division. Torres is someone that some people believe could go down to cruiserweight, but how far do you feel he can go, obviously, especially in this transitional period of the heavyweight division? Do you reckon there is a spot for him at that top table to win a world title?
Uh, Look at Usyk. Usyk's undisputed heavyweight champion, beat the best guy there was at heavyweight. So, nah, I think Torres boxed excellently against the bigger man at the weekend. He utilised his right hook over the top and caught him with it. had a lot of success with it. So listen, it's just about adapting your game plan to suit your physique, your anatomy, and I think he's got a good. I don't know the guy, but from what I look at, he's an intelligent guy, trains hard, lives a life. And like I say, the performance was excellent at the weekend, so there's no reason why he can't compete at heavyweight, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Just looking at the very top end of the division, we've been seeing reports as of late that Usyk versus Dubois is being looked at. It's being negotiations are going on. Do you feel that's the right move? Do you think that's the fight you want to see, or would you like to have seen Parker get his shot against Usyk or Dubois?
I would have liked to have seen Joe personally because Joe's a friend. But take that aside, I think, obviously he's the mandatory now for the WBO, and I don't know what happens. I don't know what the rules are for whether Usyk would be stripped of his WBO if he takes the Dubois fight, and then Joe would fight for them vacant, or he would become the WBO. I don't know. But anyway, I think that's likely to be made because that's the fight that Turkey wants. And what Turkey wants, Turkey gets because he's paying the money at the end of the day. So yeah, I think that's a great fight. It'll be interesting to see where Dubois is at now. He's on a great run, had a lot of success, reinvented himself after that Usyk defeat. So that's definitely an entertaining fight and one that, despite the fact that I would have liked Joe to get a shot with Dubois really or Usyk, it's a fight that I would be interested in. And on the flip side of that, I can potentially see Parker and Joshua being made. I think that's a fight that makes a lot of sense for both men. A chance for Joe to avenge his loss against Joshua in Cardiff at the Millennium Stadium, and it's another chance for Joshua to push himself back up into world level, probably against a guy that he perceives that he's maybe got physical advantages over. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but that's a great fight and big money for everybody involved. So that's the two fights that I can see playing out. Maybe Parker, Joshua, Usyk, Dubois. But, there's a lot. What about Caballel? Caballel can't be far away now either. There's a lot of great heavyweights now knocking at the door. So it's going to be an interesting second half of the year, I think, when all these fights are getting made. But that's the two fights that I would like to see next. I think we're going to have to accept that Dubois Usyk's been made, and I'd love to see Parker Joshua.
If I was to ask you for predictions for both, we'll start with Usyk Dubois. Who wins and how?
I don't think Dubois can outthink Usyk. He could. He's a better physical specimen than Usyk. That's no disrespect to Usyk. He's an incredible athlete, but Dubois is a beast. I don't think he can outthink him. And I think for that reason, Usyk's always going to have the edge on him until Father Time takes over. Who knows when that's going to be? Because he is, what, 37, 38 now?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm leaning towards Usyk, maybe 60-40 in that. The bar's always got the puncher's chance. And like I said, he's a real physical specimen at his peak. So you never know. But I just feel that Usyk's too smart, too clever, and will break him down over the 12 rounds. Joshua Parker, I favour Joe. I think, like I said to you, the changes that he's made in the last 2 years under Andy Lee and George Lockhart are incredible. He's a different fighter now, a different beast. Josh is still a great fighter, and he's written his name in boxing history in the way he turned around the heavyweight division in the last 10 years. But I just feel he's slightly on the decline now. He's maybe not going to ever beat his best again. And I think it's a different Joe Parker from the first time round they fought, which was a long time ago. So I would favour Joe in that 70-30, 65-35.
Just last one. We saw the IBF did order Daniel Dubois to defend against Derek Chisora after Derek's win over Otto Wallin. What are your thoughts on the fight? Because it has had a lot of mixed response on social media.
No interest whatsoever. Daniel Dubois knocked Derek Chisora out 3 or 4 rounds. I think obviously Daniel's been trained by Don Charles now. Don and Derek have a big history. There's maybe a bit of, I don't, they don't dislike each other. It's just a bit of a weird one for me, to be honest with you. But it's not a fight I'd be too interested in, to be honest. It's kind of Derek again. I would like to see retire. Don't want to fight on again, but he's probably going to fight. He's crazy, isn't he? And listen, he's tough as they come. He's tough as teak. So, but it's not a fight I'm particularly interested in, to be honest with you.
Derek did say he wants to retire at 50 fights, which he is now one away from. As much as we would
Yeah,
love to see him get a world title shot, if he is to have that 50th, which he is more than likely going to, who would you like to see in the opposite corner of the ring for one last Derek Chisora fight night?
Dylan White, Dylan White, make the trilogy. Dylan White needs to prove himself again, push himself up into that top level, which I don't know if he'll be able to. He's getting on a bit now, and he was 36, 37 as well. It's probably a pretty level, even match. A chance for Dylan to put himself back in amongst it. A chance for Derek to finish on a high and finish a trilogy then, innit? So it would sell out O2. It would probably sell out an arena, a stadium. I think that would be the fight for Derek, Dylan White.
Absolutely. Well, Nick, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time today, mate. Really appreciate it as always. And I look forward to catching up again soon. Cheers.
It was your pleasure, man. Thank you for having me. Thanks to everybody for listening. Hopefully speak to you all soon.